are rather soon going to be faced with a world that has billions of people who do not have the skills to leverage AI. Some of them will be necessary for a time. You're going to need plumbers, but this is also not a long-term solution, because not only are there not enough of those jobs, but of course we have humanoid robots that, once imbued with AI capacity, will also be able to take, they'll be able to crawl under your house into the crawl space and fix your plumbing. So what typically happens when you have a massive economic contraction that arises from the fact that a huge number of people are out of work is that the elites start looking at those people and thinking, well, we don't really need them anyway. And so the idea that this AI disruption doesn't lead us to some very human catastrophe, I think, is overly optimistic, and that we need to start preparing right now. What are the rights of a person who has had whatever it is that they've invested in completely erased from the list of needs? Is that person responsible for not having anticipated AI coming? And is it their problem that they are now starving and they're being eyed by others as, a useless eater?
Well, I stand corrected. It was literally one of the last couple of episodes that I made the comment that it was looking like the only available options for future employment security was to get involved in one of the trades. I still think it'll be a while before they'll be able to invent some robot that's going to be able to walk into an 80-year-old house and start cutting out drywall, ripping out old wires and replacing it with new ones. But they probably are already working on that. But if you think about it, by the time these robots do take over everything and no one has an income anymore, that'll likely be the moment that they come out and tell us that they've just discovered free energy. They're going to have all of these new electronics that they need to keep powered up, and they just won't have anyone left with an income to try to make money off of. At that point, they'll probably just let the cat out of the bag because it won't really matter anymore. And I'm not saying that I'm certain that's what's going to happen, but they'll either find a way to keep charging us with some new monetary system, or they'll have to change the way our entire electrical grid works. It'll almost have to be one or the other. Besides the obvious answer of just getting rid of everyone because they won't have a means to strip us of any monetary value anymore, what do y'all think is going to happen when they can't profit off of us anymore?
Never underestimate the butterfly effect of a tiny public access show in upstate New York. Clay Tiffany was an independent journalist and the fearless host of Dirge for the Charlatans. Notorious for being a thorn in the side of local officials and law enforcement, Clay Tiffany would probe into corrupt politicians and dirty cops, then broadcast his findings on his public access show. But with this fame came enemies in powerful places. One being Briarcliff police officer slash bodybuilder Nicholas Tartaglione, who in 1997 pulled Clay Tiffany over, warned him to stop looking into the police department, said he has ties with the mob, then physically assaulted the TV host. Obviously, this led Clay to delve further into the cop, and so began a long-standing feud between the two. Tiffany dug into his past and found that Tartaglione had a history of assault in his time as a police officer. Clay Tiffany would slam him and the BPD on Dirge for the Charlatans, and in retaliation, Tartaglione would find him and beat him up. This happens at least 4 times, with the last confrontation putting Clay in the hospital. He would host the next episode from his hospital bed. Clay sued the police department, winning a big settlement, but Tartaglione was never charged or found guilty of a crime. Until this story goes somewhere I never could have predicted. Clay Tiffany passed away in March 2015 of natural causes, and the following year, Nicholas Tartaglione was arrested after killing 4 men over stolen drug money and burying them in a mass grave in the woods. Tartaglione, now facing a life sentence, has been behind bars since his arrest, where in 2019, he was the last person to share a prison cell with Jeffrey Epstein.
Whoa. So, according to the Department of Justice Inspector General report on Epstein, Tartaglione was Jeffrey Epstein's final cellmate, but they claim that he was transferred out of the facility on August 9th, literally the day before they say they found Epstein's body, which happened on August 10th, 2019. That sounds to me like they knew this guy would be looked at suspiciously, so they claimed to have made this transfer, not just to another cell, but completely out of the entire facility, to try to get ahead of of any suspicion that this guy may be the culprit. But I know for a fact that facilities like this will falsify documentation in order to get themselves out of trouble. I've worked in several nursing home facilities as a maintenance director, and I have first-hand knowledge of these types of shenanigans. If he's even deceased, this guy looks like the prime suspect to me. Hey! Don't forget to click like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my merch store at berry-stepp.com.
Have you heard about what's going on in Idaho in the northwestern United States? Because a lot more people should be talking about this right now. Over the course of the last month now, I've noticed locals from all over the northwestern United States showing huge cracks appearing in the ground. Now these cracks, and you can find many videos of them, especially with farmers that have been tracking a lot of them and how long they stretch, almost every single time stretch for miles, and I mean literally miles. But the weirdest part is that people for weeks, if not months now, have been hearing loud booms underground, a lot of times specifically next to where these cracks are appearing. And a farmer actually used a device that estimated how deep some of these cracks go. In one area that stretched up to at least 4 football fields long, the cracks went down over 100 feet deep. Not just that, but I noticed that they used a camera to go down into the cracks as well. And when they did, they noticed a lot of different tunnelways going back and forth inside of the cracks. Some of which they're saying allegedly stretch to different large areas that have cracks in the ground as well. Not just that, but there's a creator that's on TikTok that's been tracking these for a while. And he actually used a camera of his own to go down into these cracks just much deeper. And when he got near the bottom, he discovered that there is a ton of mud and water underneath. Now, while the mud might be expected, that is an excessive amount of water. I'm sure everybody's aware by now of what happened with Africa.
These look just like the African rift valleys. The odd thing is that this is not really in the media. It's not really being reported on by anyone except for, TikTok conspiracy theorists and people that actually live on the property where these cracks are taking place. It is really happening though. Geologists have issued a red alert for some of these areas. They're sending out teams with ground penetrating radar, seismic instruments. They're even flying drones around to monitor the expansion. So far, it looks like the official explanation is a mixture between tectonic and volcanic activity. And of course, climate change is being blamed. I hate how they have to blame everything on climate change. That instantly makes me call their entire report into question. However, this is bad enough that the governor of Idaho is actually declaring a state of emergency. I'm wondering if this has something to do with some of these deep underground military bases or something. That's just a thought though. I haven't personally seen any evidence of there even being any of those located in these areas. But it's not like there's a publicly available map telling us where all their secret bases are.
Guys, we've got to talk about these Space Force logos. Are you kidding me? Here's number 13, lucky number 13. Revelation 13 talks about a beast rising from the sea. So we got Moloch coming out of the hole in the earth, probably the sea. Let's keep looking. We got the bear from Daniel 7, obviously, he's got a key. Bottomless pit? Probably. We got number 5, fifth seal. I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. Yeah. I guess the bear's got the key though. Let's keep going. Ooh, number 4, Illuminati eyeball. We got 2 lightning bolts. This is not Unit 666, believe it or not. Let's actually look at Unit 6 right now. Yeah, a 6-headed dragon. Making a 6 with 6s all over the place. And a hexagon. Yeah. Yes. Magic number 11. Pentagram with crosshairs. Is that a building? Interesting about Roman numeral 11, if you flip it upside down, it's a 9. Just look at that. Whoa, looks quite a bit different from this angle, doesn't it? So here's a 9 over here. We got an upside down pentagram now. And that kind of doesn't look like a building anymore. It kind of looks like a pit. Is that a bottomless pit? Because you see the concave over here? Huh. Is that something coming out of a bottomless pit? Revelation 9:11? Oh, that's right. There's more. No, I didn't just pick out the ones that are evil. I picked out the ones I had time to show you. Here's 8. The evil goes to infinity and beyond. Yeah, that's right. Let's keep going. 16. Oh, that's twice as good as 8, right? Oh, man. At this point, are you asking, are we the good guys? I don't know. Oh, wow. 9. We got a real live Nephilim. Or I don't know if he's real, but I mean, that's a Nephilim, right? Oh, wow. This is almost as American as their Osiris logo. Yeah, a lion dragon. Okay, yeah. Wow, they do love their horn gods, don't they? Yeah, the two-horned ram. I guess that's the two-horned ram from Daniel. I mean, yeah, obviously. Well, I guess we got Ares or Mars here. Yeah, and he doesn't look like he's aged too well. Yikes. Whoops, I'm just playing. Yeah, so I guess we got 23, which is the number of death, and I mean, so are we the good guys? What do you guys think? Yeah, there you go. Nothing says US of A better than, an Egyptian god. Apple pie, the 4th of July, and, King Tut. What is going on? For real. So we got, one side of the light, one side of the dark. You got the duality. We got the stupid Star Trek logo that everyone made fun of. And yeah, just even break down the space Delta 18. Okay, so Delta in the Greek is a triangle symbol, pyramid. And now we got 18. Does the 18 have something to do with 3 6s? Yeah, probably.
They sure do love their satanic symbolism, don't they? It's wild to me how they just keep getting more and more obvious with these logos. They're just constantly showing us what master they serve. And I can't help but to point this out. If you think all this biblical stuff is just a fairy tale, maybe you should consider the fact that all of these elites are obsessed with this satanic biblical imagery. And they're the ones who decide what knowledge we're allowed to have access to. They just think that we're all too stupid to put this stuff together or too ignorant to care because they keep pushing this narrative that none of this stuff is true. They keep acting like the only reason they make their logos this way is because they're trying to make something that looks cool. But anyone falling for that line is just walking around with their eyes closed.
So he was able to open up a Stargate in his room.
Whatever you want to call it. It was a different dimension.
Yeah, a portal. Well, portal would be the actual name.
And I've been so embarrassed to say it out loud that everybody would laugh at me or lock me up. I only told my aunt.
So tell me what happened. Something's not right. Something's scary in that room. Describe what you see and what happens.
I went to the edge of the doorway and I peeked in there, and I was afraid just to peek. And there was something happening in there, like a sci-fi movie. And there was something, he set him up like a little Stonehenge on his bed, and he was tiny, like I told you, so tiny. And he was jumping up and down, and he was saying, "Moon, come play with my friends." Okay, that right there says he knew exactly what he was doing. It wasn't like he accidentally opened a portal and didn't know what he had friends. So I peeked in there, and I was so scared. I'm embarrassed to tell this. It's so ridiculous, like weird. And he was being lifted, and he was starting to go. He was being lifted, and he was being lifted, and he's being sucked in. I know this sounds ridiculous, but my aunt told me don't let nothing happen to that effing little kid. And normally I would never let anything happen to a child that was watching. I would run between them and a pit bull. And I said, but the way she said it, I said, why? And she goes, he's going to rule the world someday. I'm like, what? Him? What do you mean? Why? And she said, don't you know nothing? They're the Illuminati. She would always do that to me. But she'd say, don't let nothing happen to him. He's going to rule the world someday. And I was like, that kid? So I grabbed his little arm, and I got sucked in. I got sucked into, it's like we went up and then we went down, and it was dark in there, but it was glowing. And I can only tell you that when I remember my peripheral vision, because I was afraid to look at it, because when you're a little kid and you look at the cartoons and there's a bad boogeyman in the Scooby-Doo and you see its glowing eyes, it's like, don't look at his eyes, he'll get you. And I remember that whole, if you don't look at their eyes, they can't get you. And I was being sucked in and sucked down, and I had his little arm, and it was weird because there was no bottom, and there were these creatures in there, and they were giant, and they were semi-shaped like humans. They were glorious. They weren't like Smeagol's or any creepy little demon dudes. They were like beautiful, ancient creatures that moved in a different time, and they were giant, and they had a different head. There was a bird head and a cat head and a jackal head. And I would compare them because I'm not super educated to like Egyptian type of things. Okay, after he did that, opening the portal thing, I didn't tell what he did. And then I asked one of my the head mother of the Santeria, and I think she's the head mother of those people that are southern borders they're calling them in. Okay, they paid for this a long time ago. But I said, is he the Antichrist? And she didn't blink. She said, no, but he will present the mark. And when you see him do that, the stage will be set.
He said that?
He said that. The stage will be set for the Antichrist to step forward. So August 28th, 2020, Elon Musk presented the Neuralink. Mm-hmm. Now, is the mark of the beast the image of the beast to be worshipped? Are they the same thing?
Now, I know how crazy this story sounds, but the one thing I found intriguing about this clip is the way in which she's telling this story. It doesn't sound like someone speaking off of a well-rehearsed script. It sounded exactly like someone telling a crazy story from memory, something that they knew most people are not going to believe. She kept having nervous laughter throughout the whole thing. She kept throwing out extra details like they were just popping up in her head as she was remembering something that she truly experienced. She was telling this like she actually lived through it. It's just not common for you to hear someone telling a story in that manner when they're lying. And granted, she could be making the whole thing up, but the way she's expressing this, as if she's reliving it as she goes through the story, that's the reason that I'm just a little bit hesitant to just immediately write this off.
It's pretty normal for new species to be discovered, but lately, a lot of these newly discovered species are looking like aliens or something out of a movie. First off, a new species of shark was discovered in a cave in Kentucky. It's apparently specifically known for its razor-sharp teeth that are meant to crush its predators. A new creature was discovered in Madagascar that apparently has an especially vibrant orange belly. Over in Africa, a new species of fish was discovered in a river that was noted to be silver and white and have an extremely long head. And in Australia, a new species of stick bug was discovered. Now you might think that's pretty normal because stick bugs aren't that uncommon, but I want you to pay attention to the size of these stick bugs on these hands because I'm about to play a clip of the new stick bug species.
I'll tell you what I don't understand. Someone finds a new insect that's like a foot long. It's a previously unknown species, so they know absolutely nothing about it. They don't know if it's poisonous. They don't know if it has some way to defend itself against predators that we haven't discovered yet that could actually harm you. They don't know if the thing could bite you or if it's got some hidden stinger somewhere. And there's almost always some dude that's just picking it up and holding the thing with his bare hands. How have these people not been taken out by natural selection yet? That is ridiculous. But I don't think this is anything but natural variations of insects and animals that we already have. There's still been no proof whatsoever of evolution, but we see new variations of previously known species all the time. It's estimated that there are between 15 to 18,000 new species of insects documented every year. They've probably been around for a very long time and we just simply haven't had anyone come across them yet. That ought to be proof enough to everybody that this planet is not overpopulated like the elites keep telling us it is. But I know if I was out camping or something and I come across a horde of those stick bug things, I would be panicking.
One of the most famous was a Michelson-Morley experiment in 1887.
No, tell us about that.
Well, they used light beams to measure whether the Earth was moving, and they found that there was no movement. The Earth has to be moving 30 kilometers per second to complete its annual revolution. And they found out that it wasn't moving in a very precise. Michelson could have calculated it to 1/100th of what he got in his experiment. That's how sensitive his instruments were.
What did the experiment involve in terms of apparatus, so we can get a concrete understanding of
well,
what they found?
If the Earth is moving around the sun and we shoot that light beam in the direction that the Earth is moving, okay, and then we shoot another light beam perpendicular to that, well, the one that's in the direction of the Earth's movement should be impeded in some way if it's moving through space, whereas this one is going perpendicular would not be impeded.
Why not?
Because it's not going through space. It's just going north and south.
Okay.
Okay? And what they found, they expected to have a 30-kilometer difference between these two light beams. There was no difference. So the natural interpretation, and even Einstein admits this, Mach admits this, Born admits this, the natural interpretation is that the Earth isn't moving. So how do we get out of that? Well, you invent special relativity. And now you say, well, the reason that light beam wasn't affected when it went toward the motion of the Earth is because the apparatus shortened. Huh? Yeah, Michelson's apparatus shortened as it was going with the Earth in its orbit around the sun.
No, wait, you're telling me that the contraction of mass was invented to explain away the results of the Michelson-Morley experiment?
Yes, and that's what my book will tell you, and it's been admitted by all the scientists.
I'm going to really drive this home. Einstein, Hubble, Hawking, Arthur Eddington, you name them, Wolfgang Pauli, they all explain you can't prove that the Earth is moving from the Earth. You cannot, including stellar aberration. And they will tell you point blank that they can create a model for you that explains alleged parallax, which doesn't actually happen, retrograde motion, stellar aberration, all in a geocentric model with the Earth stationary. And you cannot prove that it's spinning or revolving on the Earth itself. It's impossible. Stephen Hawking in 2007 explained it, quoting Einstein from his writings in Special and General Theory of Relativity, his paper on the combined two theories, explaining that you cannot prove that the Earth is spinning. They choose to believe in the Copernican principle because they have a religion. That triggers people because they think they hate religion, they hate God oftentimes. But that is a religion. It's a belief system built upon the doctrine of men, void of empirical, verifiable evidence, and in fact contrary and antithetical to the actual evidence. Despite what the evidence says, I just now read him point blank say it can never be disproven. We disregard that possibility because of the horror of a special and unique position. Right? And I have plenty of quotes here from geocentrists or heliocentrists explaining you can never prove it. You can't prove that the Earth is or that the Earth is not stationary. But we don't want to believe that because that would mean the Earth is special. So then what do? We go look out at the background distribution, the energy coming away from the Earth. It shows the Earth's in the center. So what do? They call it the axis of evil. And then they come up with a new idea. Well, oh, it does look like we're the center, but that must mean that no matter where you are in the universe, it would look like you're in the center. Or we're just in the center. They don't want to say what it is because it has spiritual implications. It has philosophical ramifications. And that is that the Earth had to be placed there. It has a special, unique position. They want to believe that there are a tiny speck of dust in an ever-expanding universe of nothingness where everything came from nothing and there's a pre-existing energy. Let's not talk about that part. Oh, lightning struck primordial soup and all this nonsense. And you know, why? That's a good question. Probably because they're scared of like moral accountability, I would guess. But this is the point. This is the problem. It's portrayed as science, and we're brainwashed and indoctrinated with this idea as if it is science, and it's proven, and it's not questionable. And you actually go look behind the curtain, it's philosophy. And they admit it. So that's why I gave the specific quotes, and it was walked past. It's the crux of the whole issue. There is a philosophy that leads to atheism and nihilism and materialism portrayed onto the world as if it is in fact scientific fact. You can't prove that the Earth is moving. If the Earth is a ball that spins, which it objectively isn't, we falsified it, everything gives us the illusion that it's stationary. And this is what all of the astronomers and astrophysicists say that gave you the current model.
This is probably one of the hardest truths to be hit with. Almost all of the scientific facts that they give us, if you really dig into the history of how those facts were discovered, it quickly becomes a theory, not fact. And there are a lot of examples of those theories being disproven right at their inception. They just peddle it as fact because they so badly want their theories to be correct. So they'll manufacture some entirely new field of scientific study, if you could even call it that. They'll pour hundreds of millions of dollars a year into it, and they'll spend decades trying to find evidence to support these bogus theories. But they never find the evidence. And most of these scientists don't even do their due diligence of looking at the history of how that theory was proposed in the first place. And the whole time that they're out there looking for evidence for a theory, not fact, they're peddling those theories as fact in our children's textbooks. And if you have a problem with sending your kids to their indoctrination camps, they'll threaten you with sending someone from the state out to your house to investigate you and potentially take your kids away. But everyone, I'm sorry that today's video is a little bit shorter than they typically are, but I've got a ton of stuff to do today that was gonna basically make it impossible for me to even make a video at all. But I had the same thing happen yesterday, and I know that there are a lot of you who watch every single day, and I really truly appreciate that. So I just didn't want to do that to y'all. So I figured at the very least I could put out a short one. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I hope you enjoyed these clips that we watched together today. I'll be back soon with another video. I hope you come back to join me. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to check out my merch store at barry-stepp.com. Also, don't forget to post a photo of your merch over in the Discord to get your photo in a video. But guys and gals, I hope everyone has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next one.